Well, here we are at last. Week one, lesson one, the technology of thinking and basic logic concepts. Now, before we dive into that course material right away, just want to review a couple of friendly tips to remind you how to get the most out of this class. Naturally, you've got to be doing the readings. If you spend an hour a day, you can knock out each of the 5 lessons per week and no problem at all. Uh, Obviously, the video introductions like this one is going to help you to understand the material. But I also recommend that you keep your own notebook, either on your computer or handwritten, and jot down the things that are still not clear to you and that need more explanation from me, because this way you can refer to your notes so that when we have our 15 minutes each, one of you, each week, you can very, very quickly bring these items up and we can sort them all out and improve your understanding and help you to master the material even quicker. So to book your Zoom meeting with me each week, just make sure you look for the little icon up in the top that says book my Zoom call. And just click on that, goes right to the calendar, and you can see the times that are available. I look forward to this because I don't know of any other online class where you get 15 minutes a week, each one of you individually with your professor. So that's one of the reasons why I started this class, is to give you this opportunity to meet every week for about 15 minutes on course material. So let's dive into today's lesson, which is the technology of thinking and basic logic concepts. Now, what do I mean by the technology of thinking? Well, the technology of thinking is another phrase for formal arguments, not informal arguments. What's the difference? Well, an informal argument is, we get into arguments with our family members, we get into arguments with our coworkers, we get into arguments in the grocery store, the coffee shop, on Facebook, right? And these informal arguments are just basically exchanging opinions. There's really not enough time or space or leisure to develop what we call formal arguments. Now, formal arguments, which is what you'll be mastering here on this course, formal arguments are what you use when you really want to make something happen, when you really want to convince someone, when you really need to persuade. Unlike rhetoric, which only needs to persuade, that's all it needs is persuasion by any means possible. Logic doesn't work that way. Logic is the presentation of premises leading to a conclusion that is either absolutely true or is most probably true. And I'm going to explain those two processes in a moment. But first, just a word about the structure of formal argument. The structure of formal argument differs whether or not it's a deductive argument. The structure is different from a inductive argument. You probably have heard these words before, but here you are in this class, and you're really going to understand what a deductive argument is or what an inductive argument is. And so, when something is claimed to be absolutely true based upon some other reasons why it's true, reasons, not emotions, not faith, not intuition, not feelings, reasons. What are the reasons why this is true? Then this is a deductive argument. Deductive arguments, if you look at the conclusion of any deductive argument, it promises that this truth claim proposition is derived from these two reasons called premises with logical necessity. In other words, you cannot accept the premises unless you accept the conclusion. You cannot accept the conclusion unless you accept the premises. Okay. Now, deduction does not go into proving the premises. It assumes the premises, and that's where the debate happens. Now, induction is slightly different. Induction is the enumeration of observations or experiments. Induction is utilized most effectively by scientists, both hard scientists and the soft sciences. So the structure of an inductive argument can have many premises, can have scads of premises, all leading to a conclusion. But the nature of the conclusion tells you that it is an inductive argument because the conclusion does not promise absolute entailment, absolute logical necessity. The conclusion of an inductive argument only suggests that the conclusion is probable on a range of probability, from weak probability to greater probability to highly probable. That's all an inductive argument does. Now, there's a reciprocity between these two processes. They are not different processes in reality. They're really the technology of thinking. So when you formulate a deductive argument around a thesis, that would be your conclusion of your argument. And you state your premises, it's up to the process of induction from observation, from experimentation to prove the truth of the premises. That's the reciprocity between deductivity and inductivity. They're reciprocal, right? So anytime that you're trying to convince somebody with reason and evidence, you need to proceed with both deductivity and inductivity. Proceeding on just one is not going to win the day at all. And so you'll notice that the two words, deductivity and inductivity, they both come from the Latin verb to lead, but they lead in different directions. Deduco, deducere, deducti, deductus. That means to lead out of, bring out of. But induco, inducere, inducti, inductus, induction, we get the word induction from that. Inductus means to lead into a different process, a different process of thinking, a different process of the mind. So the first thing that you'll learn how to do is to identify whether you're looking at a deductive argument or whether you're looking at an inductive argument. If you're in class, for instance, and your professor makes a conclusive proposition, a truth claim, simply ask the professor, what's the argument? Is this a deductive argument you're going to present, or is it an inductive argument? Because the process for arriving at the conclusion is different. In a deductive argument, the conclusion follows from the premises with logical necessity. All men are mortal. Socrates is a man, therefore Socrates is mortal. Perfect example of a deductive argument. If I were to try to prove that all men are mortal inductively, I would have to sample every single human on the planet to see whether or not they're human. That could take quite a while, especially in the age of Siri and Alexa. Oh, sorry about that, Alexa. She's always listening to me. In any case, so lesson number one, we're dealing with formal argumentation, not dealing with opinions, not dealing with emotions, not dealing with feelings. We're dealing with logic and best evidence. What is logic? Logic is the system of arriving at conclusions based upon demonstrable evidence. Lessons for week number one are below. You can scroll down to them and see them. And each of the lessons has an appropriate reading assignment, which if you spend just an hour a day doing this class, you will make rapid progress. And then when we meet for our individual Zoom call, we can sort things out and get you on to the next lesson. Anyway, welcome to the class, and I look forward to our conferences, your feedback, and that's all for now.